So welcome Elaine back to the Zoom again for another live session, the Art of Letting Go program. So as usual, we'll start off with today's inspirational quote and some teaching on that, and then that will lead us nicely into today's lesson, workbook lesson, and there's a new insert. So I'll also do that first. Answers the question, what is the world? So share my screen with you. Email, okay. Okay, let's just get the emails. You get the email today?
Yes, I did.
Great. Okay, just one of them. I'm trying to figure out the.
Yes, just the normal one. Yeah, let's have a look.
No, it wouldn't have had your name on it because I'm sending it via Gmail. But anyway, so the content, your name's not on, but the rest of the content's the same. So
yeah. Let's have a look.
all right. So let's
Yeah, you just don't get your name. Yep, sorry. Yep.
Well, we should spend some time trying to figure out why Gmail's blocking it.
It's still the normal content. Yeah, it's just as normal, just not your name on it. That's all.
Yeah, well, I'm sending it to myself and then I'm forwarding it on Gmail.
Yeah.
Because that's how I'm doing it. So then it doesn't put in the the individual names. Whereas if it sends from my server, then it does that. It's got that functionality. So. Yeah. But the content's the same, so you're not missing out too much. All right, so let's have a look, see at today's quote. Can you read that? Should I make it a bit bigger?
Yeah. That's fine. I can see it fine. No problems. Because breath has no form as such. It has since ancient times been equated with spirit, the formless one life. The fact that breath has no form is one of the reasons why breath awareness is an extremely effective way of bringing space into your life, of generating consciousness. Being aware of your breath forces you into the present moment. The key to all inner transformation. Whenever you're conscious of the breath, you are absolutely present. You may also notice that you cannot think and be aware of your breathing. Conscious breathing stops your mind. Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, so Eckhart is just pointing out, the power of the breath, which has been known for millennia. This is nothing new. This goes back to ancient times, in these ancient cultures, not just in India and Tibet and places like that, but in China and other cultures like the Hawaiians. Breath is ha means breath, and that's in their name, Hawaii. It means the breath is integral to their identity. Some of the Western ancient cultures, the breath, spirit, and life were synonymous. So the word spiritus, which is Latin for spirit, meant, this kind of eternal spirit. It also referred to the breath, and it also was used to refer to life. So he tells us, it's the simplest way to stop our monkey minds, constant chatter, and bring your attention into the present moment. So you bring your attention into the present moment. And this is a secret that's literally right under your nose, which most people in the world may never have paid any attention to. I remember when I first started understanding this, I read a bit of The Power of Now, and then it hadn't really penetrated. I kind of read it, so it didn't really go any deeper. But when I first started understanding it, what he was saying, I was like, my God, this is mind-blowing. What he's saying. What he's saying is I've never been present in my life. And my attention is continuously in the past or the future. And what I realized was that my attention from probably my early teens had been really focused on the future, because I set myself a goal to be a world champion squash player, and so everything was directed towards this future goal. But in the process, I was missing life. I wasn't really present to it, and was off most of the time in the future. And it was quite shocking. Oh my God. So really, like, what have I been doing? I've just been in this kind of mental delusion. So this is a secret. It's literally right under your nose, but which most people in the world, maybe including you, may never have paid any attention to. This so-called secret has been known to gurus, yogis, mystics in the East for millennia. It's the foundation of Buddhist spiritual practice. Now, the mindfulness practices that have become popular in the West since the 1970s. All mindfulness is really just taking the practices and desecularizing. I'm saying, secular, not desecular, and just saying, well, it's just a practice, and the practice works. If you sit quietly and you observe your breath, and you do this meditation practice, then you have to awaken, start awakening. So simply observing your breath, even for a few seconds, stops your mind, allows the awareness of the formless one life essence, or pure formless awareness, or perfect love as we call it. Even for a few seconds, stops our mind, allows the awareness of this one life essence that Eckhart refers to in the quote, to replace thought. And since all stress is just an expectation of some kind of external threat, another name for which is fear, all stress involves thought that is not rooted in present moment awareness. It's not right here, right now. It's somewhere else. The stress and fear are synonymous. I think that's a key point. The more you fear, the more you'll feel stress. The more you stress, the more you'll fear. It becomes a vicious circle. And therefore, it makes complete sense that stopping your thoughts by focusing your attention on something like your breath, it can only happen in the present moment. Now, there are other things you can use as well, such as a word, that's called a mantra in Sanskrit, an image, that's called a mandala in Sanskrit, and body sensations, the basis of the Buddhist Vipassana style of meditation. So you can just focus on body sensations, which is what Vipassana does. And just observe the breath and the body sensations, and that really disidentifies you from the mind, doesn't it? That's why it's so effective.
Mm.
You're no longer caught up in this ego and mind. And so all of this, these practices will relieve the stress, help you become aware again of the formless one life that Eckhart speaks of, recorded in the alternative ALG language, pure formless. Yeah, so this pure formless awareness of perfect love, it's been pointed to again. It's the formless one life, he calls. It's pure formless awareness of perfect love that has no form. It's formless. So today's bonus video is, as far as I'm aware, once in a lifetime recorded public discussion between three spiritual heavyweights, Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, and Wayne Dyer. And they get on stage, they talk about stopping your critical mind chatter using things like breath work. Deepak talks about a simple stop formula. Eckhart mentions the effectiveness of doing breath-led mini meditation throughout the day. So watch that at some point. If you haven't, there's some good stuff in there. Wayne Dyer then, so they on stage having a chat, and that's scheduled. And then Wayne Dyer happened to be in the audience. Well, he didn't just happen to be. The story was that the night before, he just randomly met Eckhart Tolle at a restaurant. And oh, wait, Eckhart, how are you doing? And then Eckhart said, well, come along tomorrow. Tomorrow night I'm seeing Deepak, and Wayne Dyer knows Deepak as well. We knew him. And come along. So Wayne Dyer rocked him, and then they said, come up on stage. And he's
Coincidence?
Yeah, it's all very synchronistic, and just a beautiful example of the flow and synchronicity, how that actually worked. And I think it was the only time they were ever all on stage ever. Right. They had their own careers, and they were traveling. They were all busy men traveling around, so quite rare that they all come together. So it's it's a great talk. I definitely recommend watching it. And then some of the practical, Deepak and Eckhart talking very practically about breath work and what you can do to stop your mind. Wayne Dyer talked about more of the metaphysical. He talked about 3 kinds of love, and his and Anita Majani's experience. So Anita Majani was the lady, if you remember, who had the near-death experience. Who he kind of sponsored. He read her book, or first draft of it. No, actually there wasn't a book. It was just an account. He'd read her story, and he then contacted her and said, I think you should write a book, and I will propose it to my publishers. Obviously, he was one of their biggest authors, Hay House Publishing. I'll propose it, and I'll help you get it published. And she wrote the first draft and said, no, it's not good enough. Go back it doesn't reveal enough of your own personal experience. It needs to be more like experiential. So she rewrote it, and it was a bestseller, because a lot of people resonate with these kinds of experiences. Described so vividly and graphically, you start wondering, don't you, about what is reality. And so he talks about 3 kinds of love, culminating in divine love. The other kinds are conditional love, but the divine love is the ultimate unconditional love, we could call it, without any apparent opposite fear. So he touches on synchronicity, flow, eternal time, and fate. As ideas that can lead you beyond time to an experience of love without fear. So yeah, very, very profound stuff, which I can highly recommend watching. So you can go, if you tap the video, you can go from the point where Eckhart starts talking about conscious breathing, which then kicks off a conversation with Deepak, and then Wayne Dyer comes in a few minutes after that. So that's kind of the meat of it, but you could go to the beginning and watch the whole thing. It's definitely worth watching. Okay, so that leads us to the ebook of Anita Majani. I thought I'd post again. And that leads us into our meditation with our session, live session, which will include a meditation, or maybe we could do a bit of Vipassana tonight. Do you like that?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay, so that leads us to the lesson. Let's just start the recording. Okay, so this one is lesson 241. You can read that in the original and the alternative.
This holy instant is salvation come. My awakening is in this moment.
Yeah, it's quite a different translation. This holy instant. So my awakening happens in this moment. My awakening is in this holy aware moment. Maybe I could have put in holy aware moment, but it's bringing it to the present moment, and that's the power of it. So let's have a look at further teaching on that. Where we listen to 241. And my awakening is in this moment. Okay, so we can read paragraph 1, the alternative, and then just give your thoughts on it. So you've done that.
Yeah. What joy there is today. It is a time of special celebration, for today holds out the moment to the limited world where release is set. The day has come when sorrows pass away and pain is gone. The magnificence of awakening dawns today upon a world set free. This is a time of hope and countless millions. For countless millions. They will be united now as a release, as I release them all. And I will also release myself from my misperceptions today. So today is a day of joy and of celebrations, because now we can leave the limited world and now be here now in this moment, this magnificent moment. And awakening dawns on us right now, and the world is set free. And it will be the same for millions, countless millions. And they'll also be united now as I release them all. And I will release myself from all the misperceptions today and this very moment now.
Yeah, the original, I will be forgiven by you today, and the glory of salvation is translated as the magnificence of awakening. Translated, for I will be forgiven by you today. And that didn't, I think he's talking about himself. For I will be forgiven by you today. Okay, it's kind of random, sort of inserted in at the end there. So I changed and said, I will also release my self. Also release myself from my misperceptions today, rather than for I will be forgiven by you today. I think that, although it's not a really a translation, it's a more meaningful statement. I will release myself from my misperceptions today, rather than forgiving Yeshua. Like, what's he got to do with it? I'm not sure. So sometimes you get these lines in the course that just don't really gel.
Unknown caller.
Oh, I've just got to take this call there. Just, yeah.
Okay, so do you want to mute yourself? We have forgiven one another now. So we come at last to you again. Father, your Son who never left, turns to heaven and is home. How glad are we to have our sanity restored to us. Remember that we all are one. So, translated, we have released one another now. And so we come at last to you again. My source, your extension, who never left. Turns to its home in the state of pure formless awareness. Turns to heaven and is home. How glad I am to have my sanity restored to me and to remember that we are all one. Very simple prayer, pointing us back into the truth that is completely sane and any thoughts on that tonight? Coming back, or are you still on your call? We're going to do the initial, what about that? So we'll just do it in reverse order then. What is the world? The insert. Let's just wrap up the lesson first. So we'll go back and do the that insert when you're ready. Just wrap up the lesson and then maybe do a meditation on the lesson. Or we could do the text and then do a meditation at the end of the session. Okay, so I'm just going to go take a quick break, and then we'll resume. If you're watching the live stream, we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Oh, hi, Jono. Sorry about that. Hello, I'm back.
Hi.
Oh, yeah, I'm back. Yeah, sorry, it was an important call there. Yeah, so
Yeah, okay. It just means the whole session gets put on hold. Unfortunately,
yeah,
there's
there
only
was
one of
not.
you.
Yeah, unfortunately, there was not a lot I could do. Sorry about that. It was one of those a call I'd been waiting for all day, so I couldn't not take it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Let's continue with the lesson.
Mhm.
We have forgiven one another now, so we come at last to you again. Do you want to
Yeah.
read?
The alternative or what? Both.
Read both, I think. Yeah.
We have forgiven one another. We have forgiven one another now, and so we come at last to you again. And that's the same for that one on the alternative. Father, your Son, who never left, returns to heaven and his home. My source, your extension, who never left, returns to its home in the state of pure formless awareness. How glad are we to have our sanity restored to us and to remember that we all are one. How glad am I to have my sanity restored to me and to remember that we are all one. Oops.
No.
Well, it's just saying about
That.
this very moment now, we can bring our sanity back and remember that we're all one. And we're back home in a state of pure formless awareness. And that is simply by being here right this moment.
Yep. The state of pure formless awareness is our home, and it's accessible to us right now. It's a state of awareness. And in that moment, in the present moment, I can remember that we are all one in that state of awareness, irrespective of the illusions that seem to be going on. And remember the truth, but only in the present moment.
Yeah.
I can't remember the truth in the past or the future. Those are just mental constructs that are false. They're just thoughts that have no true validity. Only in the present moment that we have this pure awareness without thoughts of past or future, that's purely present. Because there's no thought of past or future. It just is.
Mm.
And it's that's the revelation. When you have that experience, that's a mystic experience. Okay, there's just pure awareness. No time, no space, nothing else but that awareness in that state. And that's home. That state of awareness that is timeless, that is eternal, that has no limits, no boundaries, that is not related to our awareness in this world at all, is home. That's heaven, the state of pure formless awareness, as we call it. So how glad I am to have my sanity restored to me and to remember that we are all one. We all share that state of pure formless awareness, even when our ego is in overdrive and carrying on its shenanigans. That state of awareness is still in us, but we're not aware of it. So it's like a potential until we activate it. We actually go into it and we then experience it, and then it becomes real in our awareness. And so that's what all the spiritual practices are designed to do, is to give you an experience of this awareness in the now. That's why they all bring you into the present moment, using techniques like breathing, bring your attention into the now moment, where past and future simply disappear. and there's just a state of pure formless awareness. Okay, so any other thoughts on that one? Shall we I forgot to do the inserts, so let's have a look at insert 3 we're on to. Here's an answer to the question, what is the world?
Yeah.
So he's going to answer that question in 5 paragraphs. And again, you're supposed to read these every day as part of your practice. So you read it before you do the lesson, and try and do it, at least once a day. When you do the lesson in the morning or the afternoon or evening, and you're in the longer practice periods.
Yes.
So just remind yourself of the profound truth, simple but profound truth he states in this insert. So you want to read it in the alternative there. The world is false perception.
The world is false perception. It is born of error. It has no left. And it has not left its source. It will remain no longer than the thought that gave it birth. It is cherished. When the thought of separation has been changed to one of true letting go, the world will be perceived in quite another awareness, one which leads to truth, where all the world disappears and all its errors vanish. Now its source is gone, and so its effects are gone as well.
I'm just going to change a couple of these things, I think, to remain no longer than I cherish the thought, maybe value. Well, I quite like cherish, actually. Sort of indicates the degree of attachment. No longer than I cherish the thoughts that gave it birth. So we're making it active tense rather than passive. It's more like I'm responsible. So I cherish the thought that gave it birth, because the thought that gave it birth is the dream world, is the idea of separation. So where are we? There we are. Go back to our famous diagram. It's that tiny mad idea of separation that gave it birth. And then I cherish that because that idea now defines me and gives me a seemingly separate identity as an ego. Sense of a separate self, it's separate from my source, which then spawns an individual identity, multiple individual identities for people that believe in the idea of separation. And all of its consequences, the guilt, the sin, the fear, the attack, the accusation, blame, complaint, continuous attack and defense, and then you believe that you're a victim living a helpless, innovator little life, or hell, limitation, lack, loneliness, and suffering before you die. That's the ego's plan. So he's saying, if you cherish the idea of separation, then I can't help you. But if you're willing to question that and ultimately let it go, then freedom can be yours. And the thought of separation being changed to one of true letting go, the world will be perceived in quite another awareness. Okay, so I will perceive. Perceive the world. Quite another awareness. One which leads to truth. So maybe which leads to truth, where all the world disappears and all its errors vanish. world disappears and all its errors vanish. Now its source is gone, and so its effects are gone as well. As soon as I perceive the world in this changed awareness, true letting go, vision was true forgiveness. And I really look at the world and I say, I'm willing to let it all go. And then I will perceive the world in quite another light or awareness. One which leads to truth, where the whole world disappears and all its errors vanish. So that awareness is the Holy Spirit's awareness, remembrance of perfect love, that leads us progressively and systematically on to truth, which is the ultimate realization of who we are, an alternate reality that is not of this world. And in that truth, the whole world disappears and all its errors vanish. And we can experience that in a revelatory state. So if you have a revelation and you go into the state of truth and you see how all-encompassing the truth is. And then you probably have to come back and still play out the rest of your life here, but you've had a profound mystic experience that will help you do it better. Its source is gone, so its effects are gone as well. The source of it is the idea of separation, tiny mad idea of separation.
I was just going to say, it's not actually literally talking about our source. It's talking about the thought of separation, I guess.
Yeah, its source, the world source is what it's talking about.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
World source is this idea, the tiny mad idea of separation.
Yeah, that's right.
As he calls it, is the source of the ego or the consciousness, which believes in separation and everything that separation entails, and then it goes down a few levels down the ladder of that separation that it believes in, and then it has to project out a world. The consequence of this thought system of separation is this tremendous split in the mind that causes the projection of guilt and fear outwards to miscreate the physical universe. And that's all a consequence of the idea of separation. But he's saying, but it's never really happened because the idea of separation is not true.
Yeah.
It's false. Yeah. So whatever happens from a false idea must also be false and merely needs to be perceived as it is, to be corrected. That's what the Holy Spirit helps you do. Okay, remember that all of these appearances are just false. They're not true. They're not real. The guilt and the sin that you might perceive in yourself or others, a fearful, wrathful, vengeful God, which exists in many religions. Many people still believe in that. False expectation of punishment appearing real. These are all the things that the Holy Spirit, remembrance of perfect love, helps you question and say, no, that's not right. That just doesn't stack up. That doesn't make sense. And then you start letting it go. And as you deny the effects of the belief in separation, so you also deny the cause. Do you see how that works?
Mm-hmm.
Deny the effects, you must also be denying the cause. No effects equals no cause. But if the cause is real, then the effects must be real. So deny the reality of the effects, which is where we start. That's what we perceive. And then you are also denying the reality of the cause, which is the idea of separation. And that's how you heal it. If you keep denying it over and over and over again, eventually you've done it. You've denied it entirely, even though it may still be manifest in your reality. You don't believe in the thought of it. You see the spurious nature. And you're not fooled by it. So we come back, over and over to this diagram, but the reason is because it's so profound, and it gives us really a metaphysical overview of what's going on that the Course talks about many times in these passages. Okay, so happy to move on to second paragraph.
The world was made as an attack on pure formless awareness of perfect love. It symbolizes fear. And what is fear except love's absence? So the world was meant to be a place where pure formless awareness of perfect love could not enter, and where its extension could be apart from it. Here was perception born, for knowledge could not cause such insane thoughts, but eyes deceive and ears hear falsely. Now mistakes become quite possible, for certainty has gone.
So what's he saying in this one?
Well, the world's just doing its very best to attack pure formless awareness, and will do its best with fear and everything else to avoid the truth. All our eyes and our senses are false, and now mistakes become quite possible, for certainty has gone. Sorry, now mistakes become quite possible. Mistakes, for certainty has, I'm not sure of that last sentence. Now mistakes become quite possible, for certainty has gone. Certainty for what? Certainty for the source of a pure formless awareness.
Certainty of who you are, certainty of what reality is.
Yes.
Not, you're uncertain now of who you are, where you are, what's going on.
Yes.
It's chaos, really. The mind has split itself into parts, into camps. You've got the illusion going on, in which you believe that you are something you're not, based on a tiny mad idea of separation. And everything that happens within it is illusory, because the idea that sponsored the whole system is illusory. This is the simple teaching. It's just trying to get us to see. So it doesn't matter what's happening on the level of form, and what manifestations there are, as sometimes as awful and terrible and fearful as they can seem to be. We're trying to train our minds to recognize that it's all just a dream. And no part of a dream is any more real than any other part of a dream, right? The dream is unreal, and in all of its aspects and dimensions. And that's what the Holy Spirit's only judgment is. Okay, this whole place isn't real. In fact, it's quite insane. So let it go. Confront some of these beliefs that he talks about.
Yeah.
The world is meant to be a place where pure formless awareness of perfect love could not enter, and where its extension could be apart from it. Well, that's logical consequence of the idea of separation, which then must deny the source in order to continue its existence. And you've got guilt and sin at your apparent crime of destroying this perfect love, which creates this terrible burden of fear. Fear demands punishment, so now attack goes hand in hand with fear. You believe in the reality of attack. If you can be attacked, you can also attack, and you can be your concept of God is then of a fearful, wrathful, attacking God, a separate God that's going to attack you, and that is a projection of your own self-concept. Yeshua says this idol, he calls it, this idol made of stone, this image of God that you hold isn't real. So all of the really the insanity that you see depicted here, the Holy Spirit just looks on it and says, remember that none of this is true. You are living in a dream, and there's nothing that happens in the dream world that can justify your presence here. Sanity is insanity. Just call it for what it is, and your only goal is to leave. So the blue arrows help you to to leave the illusion and go back to the truth. Systematically and progressively by reinterpreting all of the effects of the tiny mad idea. So if you deny the effects, then you also deny the cause. Do you see that that's the course's methodology? You deny its effects, you must deny the cause, and the cause becomes less and less important in your mind and less real until eventually the cause is undone. There's no more thought of separation, which would then be the final at-one-ment. That would be a complete merging into your Christ self, and the idea of separation is no more when you're in that state. Okay. World's made an attack on God. You understand why? World's made an attack on God or pure forms, awareness, and perfect love.
Yeah, because it doesn't want to see it. That's its days numbered. Once it sees the pure formless awareness of perfect love, is that what you're asking? Why the world wants to attack it?
The world was made as an attack on.
Yes.
So
to avoid it. Yeah,
in order to exist, here's the rub. In order to exist as a separate self, an individual self with your own identity, separate identity named, you must believe that you have attacked and destroyed God or love or pure formless awareness of perfect love, your true nature. Because you cannot believe in this if you haven't attacked and in your mind destroyed this. Because these two realities are completely opposing. This perfect oneness opposes any individuality. So you can't have both in your mind simultaneously. The ego tries to convince you that you can, tries to find a way to make that compromise work. And yes, you're saying that compromise will never work, or every attempt to compromise that you've ever made has failed you, ultimately. So why would you now, believe that suddenly what's always failed you is going to work? There's no reason for it. When you look at the ecosystem clearly, who in their right mind could want that? Surely anyone in their right mind would say that is completely insane and nuts, and explains why this world will never work, explains, why there's so much pain and suffering and sickness and death, and those just carry on. That's been the human story forever. And all of our attempts to try and make this world better they'll never eliminate that pain, suffering, sickness, and death. The only so-called, quote, technology that's going to eliminate that is this technology of radical forgiveness, correctly applied to everyone and everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Okay, so happy to move on to number 3 then.
Yes. The mechanisms of illusion have been born instead, and now they try to find what has been given them to seek. Their aim is to fulfill the purpose which the world was made to witness and make real. They perceive in its illusions a solid foundation where truth upheld apart from lies exists. Yet everything that they report is merely an illusion that is kept apart from truth. It's just saying that illusions have been born. Yeah, they've been born, and of course, it's all a lie. It's been
It starts with the you know the lie of our identity, and then we go down the ladder through these dotted lines, which are there to symbolize that it's like a veil of amnesia. We forget. We don't remember the steps we took to come down the ladder to a point where we really do believe that we are individuals living in bodies as victims of this unfair, cruel world, living this helpless, innovative little life, limitation, lack, loneliness, and suffering before we die. This is the ego's outcome for your life. This is where it wants you to be. It's the lowest you can go. The lowest self-concept you can have is I am a victim of the world. It's not my fault. It's someone else's fault. I'm off the hook. You know, I'm free of the guilt, so I try and convince myself of that fact, and I project the guilt onto someone else. So I'm always accusing and blaming, complaining and attacking other people, other forms. Can even attack the weather. I'm always doing that because I don't really want to see that this is all my own decision, right? This victim identity, all the thoughts of accusation and blame and complaint, everything that seemingly happens subsequent to the idea of separation is false. And this, what I like about this diagram, I keep coming back to, it just lays it all out, doesn't it? Okay, so they're the steps. This shows the dynamic of the ego. It shows our descent into hell, the helpless, innovative little life of the ego. And if we understand how we got here, we can also understand how we can get back home. See? That's Yeshua's approach. Understand this ego really well. Understand how you got here. Understand the delusion, so you're not fooled by it. And then it's inevitable that you will awaken, because you'll start questioning these illusions in the red boxes and arrows and say, no, when it shows up, no, this is not reality. This isn't what I choose. I remember my true identity, and I'm open to that. All right, so back to lesson 241. Number 3, any other thoughts on that?
No, it's fine. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so what's he saying in paragraph 3?
Just I did sort of go through it, didn't I? About the illusions being born, and it's keeping us well apart from the truth. Yeah, just.
I think this is important. You know, you're talking about the world was made to witness and make real. So we were talking about witnesses the other day. You know, the ego has the witness of the external world to prove, apparently, that it's real. It says, look, the separation must be real, because look, you are in a separate body, your brothers are in separate bodies. There's all these separate entities going on, which is what the ego's created. Different forms of animals, plant life, just so much separation. Right? Each one is a symbol of separation. And the Holy Spirit reminds you that none of this is true. It's as simple as that. None of it's true. So you hold that in mind, and then no matter what happens in the dream world, you rise above it. Well, I'm not affected by it, because I know that none of it is true. And that's how you use this diagram and understand the metaphysics to awaken. Okay, you remind yourself over and over again, none of this is true. I'm just dreaming a dream. It's actually deluded, confused dream, but okay, it's going to happen for a while I finally relinquish the ego and depart. Okay, so and the projection perception mechanism is part of this, but it's a result of the guilt and the sin that you feel that has to be projected out onto someone or something. So we project out, we invent a whole series of episodes in our dream situations and so on. And all of that enslaves us into this false world, which it is our only task. And only task in this world is to realize its falsity and break free, set ourselves and ideally others free. Okay. So any other thoughts on number 3?
That's clear, thank you.
Or yeah, so number 4 on the alternative.
As sight was made to lead away
In
from
fact, I think there's quite a lot in this one. Garden. So read line by line in the original and then the alternative.
I can't see the top sentence. I can't see it. Yeah, that's it. As sight was made to lead away from truth, it can be redirected. That's the same on that one there. Sounds become the call for God, and all perception can be given a new purpose by the one whom God appointed Saviour to the world. Sounds become the call for perfect love, and all perception can be given a new purpose by the presence that pure formless awareness of perfect love appointed as awakener to the world. Follow his light. Oh,
Just read the original as well.
that's what I'm doing. Follow his light and see the world as he beholds it. So I choose to follow its guidance and perceive the world as it perceives it. Hear his voice alone in all that speaks to you. I choose to hear its voice alone in all that speaks to me. And let him give you peace and certainty, which you have thrown away, but heaven has preserved for you in him, preserved for you in him. And let it give me peace and certainty, which I have thrown away, but the state of pure formless awareness has preserved for me in it. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, what's he saying in this one?
Well, we need to redirect our sight and sounds and become the call for perfect love, so it can give us a new purpose of the presence of the pure formless awareness of perfect love has appointed us, the awakener, to the world. So we choose to follow its guidance and see the world as it really is, and instead choose the voice, that voice alone that will speak to me throughout the day. And it'll give me peace and certainty, which at the moment we've thrown away, until the state of pure formless awareness has preserved for me in it. Well, I don't know what that means. Has preserved for me in it. Yeah.
It's preserved for you and him as a.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In itself, maybe might be better. I choose to follow its guidance. So we're talking about pure formless awareness of perfect love. I choose to follow its guidance, perceive the world as it perceives it. So given that we're now stuck in perception, and we've apparently done this egregious thing, we've split our minds, we've gone so far into the dream world that it's as if pure formless awareness of perfect love doesn't even exist for us. We've denied it so thoroughly. Really lost in the dream, but now we must look on it differently. This is why perception is the focus of this course. We must perceive all of these things that seem to happen here: the guilt, the sin, the fear, the attack thoughts, acted out. This creates all the pain and suffering of this world. And various, often quite horrific things happen as a result of these thoughts. And all of it represents just the ego mind. It's trying to demonstrate to you that its reality is true. And that there is no other reality. And yet there's something in you that knows the truth. That's the Holy Spirit that will stay on this track. No matter what. That's being faithful to the truth rather than the illusion. So the only hope in this world is the reinterpretation of the perception that we have invented, which enslaves us. We can reinterpret that, change our perception, change our mind fundamentally, because what lies at the root of perception is who we believe we are, as shown in this diagram. Our desire or prayer to be a separate self, and the belief that goes with that underpin thought, emotion, and perception. So now we get all this stuff happening on a sensory level. It seems to be real, but we've forgotten that there's a thought system that underlies every single perception. And we have. And then it gets projected out. So we have a desire to be separate. It projects out into the dream world. We get various chaotic, difficult situations to deal with, come into our perception, and then the perception seems to be real. Oh, it's justified because all this external stuff seems to happen. But remember, it's all a projection of your internal mind. So it's profound stuff. What he's teaching is psychologically very astute.
Yeah.
But it's very simple. It's a simple principle. Yes, you've got to let go of all of your belief in this false system. Because if you hold one false belief in place, then that makes the whole system real. But then it continues. So this is an all or nothing deal. You need to be, completely in on it. Commit to one side or the other. Of course, initially you won't do that, but with practice, in time, you will. Enough letting go practice, which life gives you, and you'll start to do it. Okay, so let's go back to this. Just read it from the top one more time, from 3.4, top of the paragraph. If you don't mind.
As sight was made to lead away from truth, it can be redirected. Sounds become the call for perfect love, and all perception can be given a new purpose by the presence of pure formless awareness of perfect love, appointed as awakener to the world. So I choose to follow its guidance and perceive the world as it perceives it. I choose to hear its voice alone in all that speaks to me, and I let it give me peace and certainty which I have thrown away, but the state of pure formless awareness has preserved for me in itself.
Okay, any other thoughts on that?
No, that's clear. Excuse me.
Pointing us beyond our perceptions, following the guidance, and bringing me peace and certainty, which I have thrown away, but I can't really throw them away because they're in my own awareness. So they're there in my own awareness, waiting to be reclaimed, experienced by me in this state of pure formless awareness. Okay. So last paragraph, should we move on?
Yeah. Let me not rest content until the world has joined my changed perception. Let me not be satisfied until everyone has fully let go of their belief in separation. And let me not attempt to change my function. I must free the world, for I who made it must perceive it through the eyes of my true self, so that what was made to die can be restored to eternal life. Well, it's our mission, isn't it, to just continue to follow the pure formless awareness and leave this craziness of the belief in separation. But of course, we have to free the world before we can feel free. So that's a big task.
Yeah, well, we free the world in our perception. A lot of people go, well, we're waiting forever. The world's got to be free, but it's all perceptual. It's happening in your mind, in your perception. So it doesn't have to take any time because it's just a perception. That's why there's no order of difficulty in miracles, you see.
Yeah.
No order of difficulty in miracles, because you can correct any misperception right now. It doesn't matter how big the misperception seems to be. It doesn't matter how long it's been there. You can change your mind right now. And then you live in a different world, a different reality. I must free the world, because the world needs examples. The world needs the way shows. And you are the way shower. If you're not free and you don't feel free and happy and loving, then how can you extend that? How can you help anyone?
Yeah.
A very simple idea, but it's apt to be obscured by the ego, which being upside down tells you the opposite. You it all externalizes and says, well, yes, you can do something, you can give something without having it. So you seek some kind of solution on the level of form to fix any perceived problem, but you don't really have access to the truth that underlies it. So you're not really freeing yourself at all. You're just spinning around in the same thought system. This is endless. We've been doing this for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, caught up in this red scrum, and just going nowhere. But it all seems to be quite engaging when we're in it. But actually, from a bird's eye perspective, you zoom out and you go, well, where's it going? It's not going anywhere. The mind's just confused and deluded. It spins itself into all these dreams, and eventually the character in the dream which seems to have a body, dies, and that body expires, and then the mind recycles back into temporarily it can stay out of it, but what will draw it back is the belief in separation that it still has, and all the guilt and the sin that you feel because of that. Okay, so just read that last one from the top again, and the alternative.
Let me not rest content until the world has joined my changed perception. Let me not be satisfied until everyone has fully let go of their belief in separation. And let me not attempt to change my function. I must free the world, for I who made it must perceive it through the eyes of my true self, so that what was made to die can be restored to eternal life.
Yeah, very good reminder. Our only function in the world is to correct our perception. When we correct our perception, we free the world. As simple as that.
Yeah.
As I free the world from my false beliefs that I'm trying to project onto it and impose on it. And I'm freeing everyone, because it's going into the quantum field, or the morphic field, as Rupert Sheldrake calls it, of humanity. And it's creating an awareness of more freedom. And then related to this, this holy instant, my awakening is in this moment, right now, not another moment, right here and now. Okay, so any thoughts on the insert? Key message?
No, you've made it very clear. We have to not content ourselves in this constant sense reality, and well, not reality, in this illusion. We just have to, bit by bit, break away from it, and then happiness will be there. Suffering will end, and our eyes will be open to the true self, back to our eternal life, rather than all these thousands and billions of years of just senselessly going along, doing nothing, going nowhere.
Oh, and get the picture.
Yes.
Which for many people is, devastating. They can't conceive that it could all just be nothing and going nowhere, and really just a pointless, insane system. But the alternative to that viewpoint is that it has some purpose and meaning. Those are the options, aren't it?
Yeah.
Got some purpose and meaning. Okay, well, good luck with finding that. What is the purpose and meaning of a world where everything dies? Everything's guaranteed to suffer and die. Nothing lasts. Whatever you try and create or build, own or possess, experience, very fleeting. It's comes and it goes. Can't hold on to any of it. So what is the point of such a world? That's the question. And the ego might say, well, it's to enjoy it, or it's to pursue my goals, or I want to achieve something. But none of that's all spurious logic. It's not true. So, with these teachings, because Jeshu's so insightful and he just gives it to us straight, Fortunately, you can actually, start living this. Very, very, helpful and practical in our daily life. And as we saw yesterday, what's interesting yesterday, is a solution popped out of a session on the text, which many people think is a bit dry and boring and academic, and what's the relevance? But there is. Our only job is to awaken in this life. So that's it. That's all we have to do. Help others to awaken as well, because it's really one mind. But any other purpose that we give it is then false. I'm here to be whatever you define yourself as, a good wife or a good husband, or I'm here to make money, or I'm here to have a great career, or here to be a homemaker, here to be a mother. That's a big one. Father. All these roles, we've given ourselves. And that's not why you're here. You're here because you're deluded, because you're confused about who you really are. That's the reason why you're here. And everything that seems to happen here is part of that delusion. All of your roles, all of your dream experiences, all the characters you seem to meet, the ups and the downs of this crazy world, all is part of the dream. Which logically you want to escape. And that's what the course is teaching us how to use, and this will help you escape. If you follow my guidance, I will show you how to attain the same state as I did, the state of Christ consciousness, which very quickly leads to pure formless awareness of perfect love, and I merge back into that state. All right, so that's the lesson. So we could do a meditation on it, or we could go straight into the text and then close out the session.
I don't mind. I don't mind.
Okay, I think let's do the text.
Yeah. Okay.
6 paragraphs. So it might take an hour or so, and then it'll take us to nearly 10 o'clock. We'll see. Bandwidth for a meditation. I didn't get much sleep last night, so I'm fading as well. Let's see how we go. Maybe John will join us. You never know.
Okay.
All right. So. Yes, let's go into the text. Where are we? It's chapter 29, 4 is what I want. Oops. Disappeared. There we go. So this one is called Dream Roles. That's section 4 of chapter 29. Obviously about our dream roles, and see what Yeshua has to say about those. So maybe just read this in the alternatives. Not much to translate here.
Do I believe that truth can be only some illusions? They are dreams because they are not true. The equal lack of
some illusions. Can be but some illusions. Can be only some illusions. That's all right. Translation. They are dreams.
They are dreams because they are not true. Their equal lack of truth becomes the basis for the correction, which means that I have understood that dreams are dreams and that escape depends not on the dream, only on awakening. Could it be some dreams are kept and others wakened from? The choice is not between which dreams to keep, only if I want to live in dreams or to awaken from them. Thus, it is the correction does not select some dreams to leave untouched by its beneficence. I cannot dream some dreams and wake from some, for I am either sleeping or awake, and dreaming goes with only one of these.
One of these states. Could it be some dreams are kept from others awakened from? Choice is not between which dreams to keep, but only if I want to live in dreams or to awaken from them. And what's he saying in summary of this?
Well, I mean, do we believe that truth can be only some illusions? Well, they're dreams because they're not true, but we either choose one or the other. It's not just some illusions.
You're trying to get us to see that every dream is the same.
Yeah.
A dream is a dream is a dream. All we see or seem, quote Edgar Allan Poe, is but a dream within a dream. Very profound quote. All we see, all we perceive, our eyes and our other senses, or seem to be. I think that's what it means. All we see or seem to be is but a dream within a dream. So it's my dream within the larger dream of the world. That's my individual dream, but there's this collective dream going on, which is the dream of time and space and the whole universe, which many, many souls are engaged in.
Yeah.
So I think the key point of this is, it doesn't really matter. A dream is a dream is a dream, whether the dream seems to be frightening or amazingly exciting and wonderful, it's all the same. I cannot dream some dreams and wake from some. Or I'm either sleeping or awake. Dreaming goes with only one of these states. So I must choose again. He's giving us the very simple choice, laying it out, saying, again, we come to the crux of the matter, which you must choose between truth and illusion. That's the ultimate choice. Yes, any thoughts on number one?
Yeah, you've made it very clear. Yeah.
It's good. You and John are both saying that because for many people the text isn't clear. So
you're helping to translate it. Yeah, it doesn't appear clear when you first read it yourself. If you have someone to help you to dissect it, then it's clear.
It's actually very clear. What he's saying is very clear. It's unambiguous. It's unequivocal. He's not mincing his words. I cannot dream some dreams and wake from some. I'm either sleeping or awake. I mean, how do you misinterpret that? It's very clear, very direct, very unambiguous. People will still, but it's then just a selective perception. They choose not to see that. They just don't pay attention to that, and it can happen to even advanced, so-called advanced teachers, as we saw with the example of the Circle of Atonement.
Yeah.
Guys, with the COVID thing, I was like, what? Really? I mean, this they're saying take a vaccination, and they're believing in this illusion of the ego's created, the magic solution, which is defense against the truth, violation of all these principles that they've supposedly been studying, and ignore. In the webinar they did on it, they ignore the line in the course where it actually addresses that particular issue. I mean, that's just extraordinary. How can you ignore?
They're probably regretting that now, with hindsight.
Maybe, but it's like, they look back on that.
Unfortunately, at the time, it was such a crazy time, though, wasn't it? So that it sort of got into everybody's mind. So even the advanced teachers, it managed to seep into their mind. But they'll be looking back and feeling embarrassed now, I imagine.
Well, maybe so. So they were like, well, no, we've got to believe in these illusions. And what was extraordinary to me, though, is you can do a whole webinar on a subject. And obviously your reference point is the course. And on that subject, there's specific guidance in a lesson. There's in lesson 76, where he even mentions the particular issue, which is vaccination. And they ignore it in their webinar. I mean, that's just extraordinary. So that shows you the level of denial of the mind. Of like, we just see what we want to see. We see what we want to see. We choose to perceive, and we value certain things in the dream. We say, no, well, I'll value that, but I won't value this. And I'll pick and choose what I want to believe in this dream world. And this is the problem, saying, you can't do that because it's all a dream. You have to always take it up to another level and remind yourself that it's always a dream. So therefore, it's not real. So why are you giving it importance then? Why are you valuing it? Why are you giving it real effects on you when it's not real? And that logic is, if you apply this kind of thinking, this logic to various situations that crop up, this is what, this is where the rubber meets the road of this practice of letting go. It's like, well, why then am I doing this? Why don't I just let it go if it's not real? And every dream is the same. Why am I particularly attached to this dream? Why do I like this aspect of the dream? And I prefer that. And so I go, well, I value that part of the dream, but I don't value, other parts. And all that does, you're judging the dream as real when you do that. See, as soon as you start making judgments based on the dream's reality, oh, well, that's real and that I don't like. And I want that, but I definitely don't want that. What you've done is you engaged your mind in the unreal, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
That's why judgment doesn't work, because it makes the unreal real. Well, any judgment is judging the seeming reality of this projected world, the illusion, as real, which is why he says, don't judge, because that makes it real, and you continue on that track to judge.
But throughout history, though, all the great teachers still have a tiny bit of ego. Martin Luther King, they all have something where they fall foul to the ego ways, apart from Jesus, but we don't know with Jesus, do we?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that it just meant that they weren't, quite enlightened yet.
No, that's what I mean. So they've all got their weakness. So I guess the same with Robert Perry. He obviously just fell foul and.
Oh yeah, no, I don't condemn it. I just it's a demonstration of just how.
Oh yeah,
even
no, I realize. Yeah,
really
no, I know. No, I know you weren't condemning, but it's just all these sort of so-called saints. They've still got some of the ego still in them. So it's
and obviously in history, a lot of those things get painted out. They get pedestalized, as Alan Watts said, put on a pedestal and worshipped, and go, oh well, they were completely sinless and they were perfect, That's the teaching around Jesus. He led a perfectly sinless life.
Yeah.
Right. So he never had one negative thought in his entire life. That's, you can't really believe that, can you?
No.
Of course he had some negative thoughts. Everyone does. It's part of the human condition.
Yeah.
He just learned how to let them go better than anyone else. And I think at the end of his life, there was very little of that left. His final test was the crucifixion. And again, he was tested because it's recorded that he was sweating and he was like in anguish.
I can imagine.
Because they're coming to get him, and he knows, what he's going to have to go through on the, physical level. It's going to be very unpleasant.
Yeah.
And as enlightened as you might be, no one wants to be flogged and beaten, and then have to carry your cross and into a cross, and then you drown in your own body fluids. This is not nice in anyone's.
No.
And, you still then had an awareness in the body, so there must have been some awareness of what the body's going through and the suffering and the pain, and so he had to deal with that, and he knew that was all coming. It's an incredible choice, really. I just look at him and I go, man, you're just amazing. That choice.
Absolutely.
To stay
Absolutely.
and face, not my will but thy will be done. To stay and face that. But he could have run away. He knew what was. He didn't have to go to Jerusalem. He could have gone, well, I'll just stay well clear of Jerusalem, because I know if I go there, that's where my enemies live, and I'm going into the lion's den. And so he knew this, and he knew that he would be crucified, and yet he chose it because he knew that this was so-called the will of God. This was what would make his teaching come into, or become a world teaching, and become, the religion of Christianity that it did. Without the crucifixion and the resurrection, that would not have happened. I think he knew that. So then this, tremendous presence and courage to go, okay, so I've got to face this. This is my task. I have to go through the next 24 hours, which can be extremely unpleasant. It's only 24 hours, but I mean, that's the 24 hours of hell.
Yeah,
he was arrested, and then
that would be
was flogged, kept him in prison overnight. They probably
horrific.
Didn't give him any food. And then he's I think he was flogged the next day, and then he's called before Pontius Pilate, and he has to sort of defend himself to these people who are totally, he knows that they want to condemn him. So he just says, well, so you say. He didn't actually defend himself. He just said, well, so you say. That's what you say. And then they said, so are you the Son of God? And he couldn't deny it. He said, yes. And then they're like, blasphemy, kill him. He said he's the Son of God. No, he can't be the Son of God. Kill him.
Crazy.
Crazy, So he had to go through that experience. And when the Christians interpret it as, well, he died for the sins of the world. He took on the sins of all of us. I think what they're meaning really is that this was done for everyone. This was an example of radical forgiveness that will stand forever. People will remember his example and be inspired by it. It was like, well, if he can do it, then so can we. He didn't die for our sins. He wasn't punished for our sins and had to be sacrificed. He just faced the ego and all of its nastiness, experienced that that pain, suffering, and death, but transcended it, and reminded all of us that, okay, this can be transcended. You can free your mind from this. And that is a huge contribution to humanity, because if one person can do it, as he demonstrated, and overcome death itself, then it's possible for any of us to do it. And he even said, I'm nothing special. You will do these things that I've done, and even greater things. So the healings and the raising of the dead and the resurrection, that's all possible if you're in your right mind. If you are right-minded like I am, then this all becomes doable and possible. But if you don't believe it, then not possible for you.
Yeah.
You block it out. All right, so some reflections on that. We'll go to number 2 then. Dreams that I think I like.
Dreams I think I would like, would hold. Sorry. The dreams I think I like would hold me back as much as those in which the fear is seen. For every dream is but a dream of fear, no matter what the form it seems to take. The fear is seen within, without, or both. It can be disguised in pleasant form, but it never is absent from the dream. For fear is the material of dreams, from which they are all made. Their form can change, but they cannot be made of something else. The correction were treacherous indeed, if it allowed me still to be afraid, because I did not recognize the fear. I would not then be willing to awake, for which the correction prepares the way.
Okay, so what's he saying in this one?
Even the dreams that we like are going to still hold us back, because it's saying that every dream is a dream of fear. So no matter what form it takes.
Yeah, every form that we value, it might seem to be nice for a while. Oh, this is nice. I like that. I'll have that. Still a dream of fear, because at some point that form, whatever you value, is not going to be there. Guaranteed, at some point it won't be there, because that's the nature of the dream. It doesn't last. So you value anything in this world, well, then the seeds of disappointment, which causes suffering and pain, fear that you might lose it. The fear is, well, I might lose this thing I value. Well, yes, in the ego system, that fear is logical, because you will lose it. And the only way out of the conundrum is to recognize that you're not losing anything, because the dream was never real. So whatever you valued in the dream had no value. So how can you lose what had no value? That's the Holy Spirit's interpretation. Do you see that? That's the only way out. As soon as you value any part of the dream, what do? You make the dream real. You've made this whole reality, alternate reality, real, because you value one thing in it. Because if one thing in it is real, then it's all real. That's how it works, isn't it? Then the whole domain, the whole so-called reality, is real if one thing in it is real. You see, so the ego is like, okay, well, it knows that, so that's why it likes to get us attached to even one thing. One attachment, or fetter, as they call it in the Buddhist teaching, will bring you back. One of those in your mind, which you still value when you die, and that's still going on in your mind, that fetter will bring you back here, because in order to experience that fetter, what you think you want, you have to be human. Well, the fetters don't exist in unconditional love. There's no need for them.
So even if it was a love for your spouse or a child, or whatever, you loved your child, you're going to have to come back if you still value that child.
Did you really love him? See, this is what Yesh was saying. Is that really love? Special love? You love the individual person, apparently a separate identity in a body. Can you really love that? Is that possible? Or were you just attached to it? Did that become part of your self-concept? And you value it because it's part of your self-concept. Oh, now I have a child. When a child gets taken away for whatever reason, oh, now I don't have a child, now my self-concept is damaged, seemingly diminished, you see.
Mm.
So was it really love, or was it just my attachment to my self-concept, which then manifested as an attachment or special love for that child, and the world calls that love?
Well, sometimes with children, it's a different love. Not that I've got any children, but they say that it's unconditional as opposed to a spouse where it's a special love, whereas a child's an extension of you. I don't know. I mean, I haven't had experience of having children, but I assume that might be what people would think when they've got children. They're an extension of you. So it's unconditional. You love them unconditionally.
At the highest level of parenting, then that would be the case, but I think it's quite rare, because child misbehaves, and then I can tell you it's not unconditional. It's like, well, if you misbehave, then you're not going to get this, or this is. That's how it works.
Yeah.
It's not unconditional, is it?
No. No.
You misbehave. Well, sorry, you don't get to go on your Xbox, or you get some privilege taken away, or go to your room. And so the child learns the love is not unconditional, because if I do certain things, then that's okay, and if I do other things, then I get punished. Not unconditional, is it?
No.
So it's a very rare, when people say unconditional love, well, it's a very rare love in this world. It doesn't exist very much. It doesn't happen very often. Because it means that person has transcended the ego, so that collapsed the entire ego.
But when you see a mother with her baby, I mean, not all mothers, because some mothers can't stand their children, but a mother with her baby, those ones that are just cuckoo all over them, is that not unconditional love? Where the woman is so in love with the baby. That's unconditional, isn't it?
Well,
you see.
I think a lot of the time it's extreme attachment. That mother has now identified herself with the baby. Oh, now I'm a mother. Isn't this amazing? Now I've got a new purpose, a new role in my life.
Right.
I brought this life into the world. It gives me a purpose. I need to nurture this, look after it, and obviously that speaks to all the instincts that are built in. To women particularly have that mothering, nurturing instinct, because it's necessary for survival of the species. So it speaks to that. It feeds all of these programs. But is it really unconditional love?
I don't know, because I haven't had the experience. Thank goodness.
Well, I think a lot of the time it's a lot of attachment, and there's also, I mean, I've been through it. It's not an easy experience, I have to say.
Right.
It really, it wasn't all roses. I was like, what the hell is this?
Right.
What is going on here? I found it's shocking. And I realized when my son was born, exactly what had happened. Because I've had the course, I'm like, okay, he's just come into a delusion. He's born into an illusion, into a false world, having to now identify with a separate body, and we're apparently his special parents, and the whole thing is a gigantic setup for special relationships, and inevitable suffering and pain that comes from it. He would have been much better off staying in heaven than coming here. So these are the kind of thoughts I had. It wasn't like, oh, the miracle of birth and it's so amazing.
He's an extension of you. It's really he's an extension of you. You are his father, his God.
Well, I'm not really his father in truth. That's not the case, because that's happening. That's on the biological level. Yes, the sperm from my body fertilized an egg, and that happened. Apparently on this level of reality, but that none of that's true. What Yesh is saying is that's not true. That's all part of the illusion.
Yeah.
So why don't value it? Because it's not true.
But your instincts will no doubt have this sort of instinctive protection for your extension, your offspring. You'll have an instinct in you that will just naturally want to protect, I guess.
Yeah,
or
I
not?
think that's, kind of hardwired into us. But
Yeah, yeah, that's
is it
what I meant.
unconditional love, or is it just an instinctive program? Every species protects its young, because if it doesn't, then the species isn't going to last very long.
Well, when I watch
It's
a mother cat with its kittens, they literally will kill things triple their size. They'll attack a dog, everything. They will protect
mm,
their young.
mm.
Really, I've never seen
But
anything like it.
that's
But
instinct.
yeah, but then when I've noticed, because we had a mother cat who had 4 little white kittens, one of the kittens was actually gone back to the mother and she doesn't even recognize it. She's not interested. In fact, they fight. They don't want to know each
Mm,
other. So that's
mm,
interesting. She was so protective with it, always with
mm,
it, and now she doesn't even want to know. That's
mm.
interesting.
So is that unconditional love then? No, it's
No,
not.
not at all. She doesn't even
No.
recognize it. So that's
Mm.
amazing. Yet she was such a good mother.
Because there was an instinct that was driving her in those first few months, protect her kittens at all costs, because
It's
without
amazing.
that instinct, the species is threatened. Well, the mother doesn't have a protective instinct for her young. They're in a very vulnerable state. They, they're not going to survive. So that's
No,
instinctive. It's a program,
it is.
but not unconditional love,
No. Well, it's certainly. Well, it was. I mean, we thought
as you
that they
saw.
would be close, because they were so close, these two, and
Mm,
yet they don't. They growl at each other.
mm,
They don't want to know each other anymore. It's 6 months old now. The kitten doesn't want to
yeah.
know. Don't want to know each other.
Mm.
So that's don't even
There's
recognize each
there's
other.
there's separation. Yeah? There's the belief in
Yeah.
separation,
So it's
which is
really quite
everywhere.
bizarre.
So you gotta just see it for what it is. This belief in separation is entrenched. It's endemic. It's not just in humans. It's in every species.
But we
When people say,
tend to.
"Oh, well, the animals don't have ego," no, they do. They absolutely do. It's
Oh
just
yes.
perhaps not as complex an ego as human beings, but
But
it's
generally,
there.
though, their offspring, they want them out of the nest by once they've reared them, then it's go away. Whereas we
Hmm.
don't do that. Humans, we're obviously more protective,
Well,
because I
yeah.
know people that can stay at home and they're in their 30s and they're still with their mum and dad.
Hmm. Yeah.
So whereas in the the animal kingdom, no, they're out.
Hmm.
Mother doesn't want to know after us.
Maybe the mum and dad might quite like the 30-year-old to be out. You've overstayed your welcome, and you're only here because you can't afford to be anywhere else, or whatever the
Well,
circumstances
of
are.
course,
You haven't quite got your life together. So unconditional
yeah.
love is very rare. That's like no conditions. I love you. Doesn't matter what you say, what you do, how you
Mm,
behave. It's very rare. Who does that? Not many
mm.
people know how to do that.
No.
Um, so occasionally you see it in an example like, say, Yeshua. I think there was genuine unconditional love, and you saw
Mm,
that coming through in the way he treated everyone. And
yeah.
that's that example is what made him such an amazing example and way shower and teacher,
Mm.
because he actually lived it. He genuinely, I think he genuinely felt it. He saw someone, whoever they were, they could be a Jew or a Gentile or a Samaritan woman. It doesn't matter to him. He just saw that they were all
So the
part of the
essence,
source.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
they were
saw the
all,
rest,
and he
yeah.
didn't see the differences, and he really felt that, and then he acted on it consistently in a loving, kind way, which brought about these tremendous miracles. Because in those days, people believed more. I think they were more connected to. Well, they had a belief in the Messiah. I think that was the key thing. They believed the Messiah would come. There's a common belief amongst the Jews, and then Yeshua shows up, and it's like, right, he's the one. He's the Messiah, and so they believed in him. Whatever he did, they were like, and that field of belief that grew around him was why the miracles happened, because there was such strong thought and feeling related, to him, Not just because of him, but because of the whole Messiah thing, which had been going since Isaiah, I don't know, 1,000 years before it was prophesied. So this had been a resident belief passed down generation to generation in the Jews, that one day the Messiah would come and save them. And now he was here. You imagine the excitement. The guys believed that he was the Messiah, and that's what got his disciples excited. And we're like, wow, he's the real deal. He's the one. We living this prophecy. We are. That's why they got excited. If they hadn't had the prophecy of the Messiah, interesting, would any of that have happened? Maybe not, because there wouldn't have been the same expectation, would they? So okay, there's no prophecy of Messiah. Who are you then? There's nothing special about you. Just Yeshua ben Yosef, just guy from Nazareth. So what's the big deal? But the prophecy of the Messiah made him like, okay, you're the special one. You're the Son of God. You've come to save us. And if people believe that, then he does become special in their view, doesn't he? And that whatever he says is then valued extraordinarily. People would believe what he said. So, get up and walk. He says to a leper or someone who's crippled, then they believe it, and they do, because there's such a strong belief in it because of who he supposedly is. So it was all, it was a product of how the mind works. And he just happened to be the right person at the right time, who came into a culture that was prepared for someone like him, because of this prophecy, and he fitted the bill, and a whole lot of people believed that he was, this Messiah that had been prophesied for centuries before, and so they believed in him. But in another culture that didn't have that belief, maybe his impact would have been much less, because they wouldn't have invested so much faith and belief in it. There was no prophecy of a Messiah. And then maybe, the kind of miracles he did wouldn't have happened, because there wasn't the same level of belief. He even said, I'm not doing anything. He said, I haven't done anything to a woman who touched his cloak and was healed. He said, it's your faith that's made you well. He said it. There it is. It's like I'm nothing special. It's just your own belief is so strong that if you touch my cloak, you will be healed. That it is so, because your belief is powerful. He understood that. So I think he didn't really buy the whole Messiah thing. It was like, okay, well, that's what people want to believe. I can't really stop them. Although interesting, because he tried. He would say to people, don't tell anyone. He's done a miracle. Say, just promise me that you won't tell anyone. And of course, they went out and they didn't keep that promise. They just told everyone. You never believe what happened to me today. I mean, what a story! Like I've had a bona fide miracle. I've had a healing. They couldn't shut up about it. Maybe it was reverse psychology, or maybe it was genuinely saying, look, just keep it quiet, because I don't want any glory, and I don't want the fuss. I just want to quietly go about my business, doing the will of God, and it doesn't need to be this whole story. Center of attention, and but it was inevitable within that culture that it was going to happen. He couldn't stop. I mean, if he was going to do what he was going to do and do those kinds of miracles, I mean, there's no way you could keep the word from getting around. People were going to talk. It was the talk of the town. It's like, there's this guy, and he's turned water into wine, and now he's done. You can imagine, and they didn't have all the entertainment we have these days, with movies and music and internet, whatever. So what was the entertainment? Stories. They told stories, didn't they? So this would have been like great storytelling material. The gossip of the town, and so his what he'd done would have been, if he'd done a new miracle, that would have spread like wildfire. It's like gone, oh, you won't believe what he's done now. He's just done this, and then they would have just gone throughout probably the whole society. So people far away would have heard about it, because it's all gone via the grapevine. More slowly than today, because they didn't have social media, but people did travel. So it would have spread probably through the whole of Israel quite quickly. within a week or two, people were, and you never believe what he's done now. So he was like a celebrity. He was like a rock star. That's why it was Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote that. He wrote that musical called Jesus Christ Superstar.
Mm.
Because he was like this, spiritual rock star, superstar, and people believed in him. They were like, he can do anything. And you believe that, then he can do anything. And I think he believed, he didn't have any limitations. He didn't put limitations on what was possible because he understood the power of God and what spirit can do. So okay, well, he just showed up. He did what he did, and then people believed, and he believed, and that whole field of belief created, all these miracles, which have come down to us now as the stories of the Gospels. And because of that, the scene was set for something like A Course in Miracles, because we understand, his teachings from Christianity and his stories and the parables and so on quite well, because it's part of Western culture. Most Western societies, mainly Christian. Then perfect, breeding ground now, or environment for the Course to come in and say, okay, well, hang on, this is what I really taught. What you got in the Bible was just smatterings, just little bits of these teachings, which were recorded by others, and they weren't done in a very systematic way. It was only a few hundred lines of his teachings that were recorded. So here's the real deal. I'm going to give you not a few hundred lines. I'm going to give you 1,300 odd pages of the teachings to really train your mind in this thought system that he adopted and he mastered. So you look at that over a span of 2,000 years. There's a plan of at-one-ment. And when he said, "I'll come again," to the disciples, I think they thought he would come again physically, but that's not what he meant. He said, "I will come again as the Christ into this world," and his teachings would come again. And that's exactly what's happened since 1965, when this whole process kicked off. His teachings have come into a new emergence. Many more people are exposed to them. Many people who wouldn't have been interested in his teachings are now interested in them, because we're getting the real deal. What did he really believe? What did he really teach? So it's just amazing to be part of that at-one-ment process over the span of 2,000 years. But then what's time? There's no time in reality. So it's all part of this plan of the at-one-ment that's unfolding for all of us in real time. And he was a big part of that, because he was the first one to attain the at-one-ment perfectly. He played his part perfectly, fully, and he was the first human being to do that. So therefore he's the leader of the at-one-ment. So okay, I can show everyone else the way because I was the first one to do it. And then now he's in charge of this process of like, okay, well, every mind needs to be awakened and freed into the light in the same way that you were. So this A Course in Miracles is his attempt to do that. Okay, a bit of a digression, but interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So shall we done number 2? Let's go to number 3, shall we?
Yeah.
In simplest form.
In simplest form, it can be said attack is a response to function unfulfilled, as I perceive the function. It can be in me or someone else, but where it is perceived, it will be there. It is attacked. Depression or assault must be the theme of every dream, for they are made of fear. The thin disguise of pleasure and of joy in which they may be wrapped, but slightly veils the heavy lump of fear. That is their core. and it is this the correction perceives, and not the wrappings in which it is bound.
Okay. I'm just reading from the top again, just to make sure I've got all the changes.
Its simplest form, it can be said attack is a response to function unfulfilled as I perceive the function. It can be in me or someone else, but where I perceive it will be there that it is attacked. Depression or assault must be the theme of every dream, for they are made of fear. The thin disguise of pleasure and joy in which they may be wrapped only slightly veils the heavy lump of fear that is at their core. And it is this the correction perceives, and not the wrappings in which it is bound.
Okay, so what's he saying in this one?
Well, it's saying that attack is a function unfulfilled as we see the function. So it can be me or somebody else where we perceive it. And depression or assault can be the theme of every dream because they're all made of fear. And the disguise of pleasure and joy, which they're wrapped, are only just a veil for the fear that's at the core. So it says this is where the correction is perceived, and not the reference. Yeah.
Yeah, so the so-called pleasure and joy. I mean, you talked about some of your friends who you're into worldly pleasures and stuff. It's a thin disguise. It doesn't really. It's not deep joy. It's not an authentic spiritual joy. It's just like, oh, no, that's nice. I'd like to get that experience in the illusion, whatever that experience is. That they value. It might be shopping. It might be food. It might be sex. It might be something that they value that's pleasurable. And then they go, oh, wow, no, I'm excited or I'm joyful, but it's not really. It's a fake form.
She likes the soaps. Sally likes the soaps, so she loves her soaps.
Yeah, but there's a false love there because it's not a deep joy coming from source. It's based on illusion.
Yeah.
So this is what he's saying here. It's wrapped in pleasure and joy. But if you will look beyond that, you will see there's a heavy lump of fear at their core. And so this is why none of the pleasures the ego gives you are untainted. There's always a thought of, well, okay, it's there now and it's quite nice, but it won't necessarily always be there. So I may lose this. And it tends to occur more with things that you value more. So take the special relationship, particularly very close ones like your partner or spouse and your children. Those are the big ones.
Yes.
So no, I really love you, and then it's like, oh my God, what if I lost you? What if you died? What if you went away? How would I cope? And so there's this core of fear that underlies the so-called pleasure and joy. I might be going, oh, this is amazing, I love my family, but okay, if it's not coming from the deepest source, you're not rooted in that, then there's going to be a fear that, well, what if it doesn't last? One day I'll lose this, and then I'll be deprived. And so that lump of fear then sits in your mind at your core, and you can never shake it. As long as you believe in the illusions and you value them, that lump of fear will always be there, because it's telling you, the ego is telling you, but this isn't going to last. So you value it now, you have a temporary pleasurable experience, but it's not going to last, and so suffering is around the corner.
Yeah.
Then what you value will be taken away, and then you'll suffer, and it keeps reminding you. And on that level of the ego, what it's saying is true. Yes, it won't last forever, and there will probably come a time that every illusion you value, you'll suffer because of it, because it's not going to be there.
It's true. Yeah.
So the ego seems to have us stitched up. It's like, okay, well, I've got you, and this reality seems to be real, even though it's not. And this core of fear is what we've got to undo and overcome. Is this the correction perceives and not the wrappings in which it is bound? So the correction just goes, but it's all the same. Actually, don't value any of this. Just see through it all. Remind yourself it's all just a dream. It's an illusion. None of it has any reality whatsoever. And if I can hold to that awareness, then I am free. Okay, so thoughts on number 3? Any other thoughts on that?
No, that's clear.
Yeah. All right, so number 4, when you're angry.
Yeah. When I am angry, is it not because someone has failed to fill the function I allotted him? And does not this become the reason my attack is justified? The dreams I think I like are those in which the functions I have given them have been filled, and the needs which I ascribe to me are met. It does not matter if filled and the needs which I does not matter if they be fulfilled or merely wanted. It is the idea that they exist from which the fear arises. Dreams are not wanted more or less. They are desired or not. And each one represents some function that I have assigned. Some goal which an event or body or thing should represent and should achieve for me. If it succeeds, I think I like the dream. If it should fail, I think the dream is sad. But whether it succeeds or fails is not its core, but just the flimsy covering. So it's just again about the way the ego works and the dream that it makes us. It's fairly transparent. It's happy when it has its so-called ascribed things in the world. If it gets what it wants, then it's happy.
Temporarily, anyway. Goes, I'm chuffed for a while. It doesn't last particularly long, usually, because the dissatisfaction returns, because that's its state. It says, I've got it, I'm very chuffed, and then, sometimes within hours, it returns, okay, now, got to start all over again. I always think, look at sportsmen, and they'll work towards their goal of winning, let's say, if it's tennis, Wimbledon, or whatever the competition is. And it's months and years of effort, and then let's say they do it, and then it's over. Okay, So that happened on the Sunday. The Monday morning you wake up, and so what? It's over. The tournament's over. You won, but
Well, they
starts
might
all
get
over.
well, they might get a lot of sponsors, and they'll get lots of money to, advertise
Oh
their,
yeah,
their,
but
their things.
psychologically, they've got to pick themselves up and go, okay, we go again. Because now I've got to look to my next tournament. What's the next one I'm preparing for? I
In
might
the
have a
mean,
rest day.
in the meantime,
I might
yeah,
have
but
I might have one day off, and then it starts again, and the whole cycle starts again. Never
but
rest.
a lot of them do get sponsorships, and they can make lots of money in between time, for advertising aftershave and
Yeah,
clothes.
of course, but psychologically, what they're doing in their careers is always, it's never, you never go, okay, that's it, I've attained it, I'm there, and
No,
it's end
no.
off. It's like, okay, I've won Wimbledon, which is, let's say, the peak. It doesn't get bigger than that. That's the biggest tournament in the world. And
Yeah.
then, okay, so what? All right, we move on. The tournament's over. All the hullabaloo and all the fuss and the drama of the final and everything, it's all over. Then I wake up the next morning and I start preparing for my next tournament.
Yeah.
It's just, it's endless. That must be quite psychologically hard. Imagine if you've really got yourself up for the
Oh,
tournament,
yeah.
and then it's like, okay, and now I've just got to, okay, everyone's moved on. No one's interested in Wimbledon again for another year because it comes and it goes. And
Yeah, nobody again.
now I've got maybe one day off. They give themselves a day off, and then I've got to start preparing for my next one. And all of that is, whatever I achieved is over and done. And now, I could fail again in my next match. Quite a psychologically stressful
Pressure.
way to live. Yeah.
Stressful, yeah.
Quite, because like when do you rest? You're always working towards the next tournament, the next goal. When do you rest? So this is kind of what he's saying here. A dream is a dream is a dream. Now, desired or not, as long as you desire dreams, you separate yourself from your source, from pure formless awareness, and you now have to believe in the reality of the dream. Does that mean you do nothing? No, but don't desire it.
Well,
That's the
your
key.
tennis player, Samson, I think you were talking about, he seems to have sort of nailed it, hasn't he? He seems to go in the flow. Samson, was it?
Federer.
Oh,
Federer.
yeah. He seems to have nailed it, hasn't he? He goes with the flow.
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, he still had his. You
Still has his days.
read his
off days.
account. No, in his last Grand Slam final that he played and won, so he already won 19. So he's like well experienced. You'd think, okay, he's got this all mastered. He said it was excruciating. He said the whole day he was incredibly nervous.
Oh.
The whole day, but he's done it 20 times, 19 times before, and he's been there and done that. But still, he's facing the anxiety, performance anxiety. Will he perform or not? Maybe he knew it was kind of his last go at it, because he was 38 then, so you don't have too many more chances. He's getting old. So that's fascinating. He hasn't like, okay, well, it's all just a piece of cake. And he said, I was going through hell, really. Just really difficult, managing anxiety the whole day, because they play in the evening. So it's like, okay, so you've got to wait the whole evening before you can play. They might have a little warm up in the morning, have a hit for an hour or something, but they don't want to do too much, because they're preserving their energy. So I know what that feels like, because I've been not anything like at that level, but psychologically it's
competition,
the same thing. Competition, and then that situation
wanting a goal, outcome.
I shared where I had that that flow experience. You know, the whole day I was stressing. I was like the mind was working this and was like, well, what if I lose and what if I win? And very, you know, anxious because my whole self-concept was at stake. I didn't realize it at the time, you know, what I was doing, but actually I was attaching myself to my performance as a squash player, and my entire self-concept was on the line whenever I went on court. Well, that's quite stressful, isn't it? If you believe
Yeah,
your
of course.
entire self-concept is exposed and could potentially be shown to be, you know, delusion or false, or you know, that it's a failure. You're a failure, really. If you lose, then you're a failure. That's what the ego tells you. That's psychologically very, you know, very disturbing, very stressful, which is what I found. But I was very fortunate in that I broke through that delusion quite early in my career, and I never really went back to it. Because of that experience, I was like, actually, there's another state that transcends this. I know it's there because I've experienced it. Same as a mystic experience. I know it's there because I've experienced it. So the ego can't convince me anymore that state of, you know, of fear and anxiety is real, because I know there's something more than that. And so that experience, you know, kind of shifted me permanently out of the fear and anxiety, and I was able to find a sense of flow in most of my subsequent matches. Never to the same extent, but it really was a career changing, you know, one match like that changed my whole experience. In the same way as a spiritual, you know, one genuine spiritual experience, a mystic experience, or peak experience, as Abraham Maslow called them, can change your entire life, because everything changes. You've had an experience, an actual experience of something else, and you can't deny that anymore. So, well, yeah, I know I experienced it, so it's completely life-changing if you allow that experience to inform your thoughts and your words and your actions going forward. Which is why people do have, you know, one moment of experience, very profound, and it changes their life. They never go back. Examples, I've given you my example. Eckhart Tolle. So woke up one morning, it's like, wow, I just see the world differently. Had a profound experience, never goes back to his old state of anxiety. Byron Katie, you know, wakes up on the floor of a bedroom in a rehab center, cockroach crawling over her foot, and just wakes up and gets it. Literally, because okay, I'm not judging this anymore. I'm just perceiving it from a state of pure formless awareness without judgment. That's what she experienced. And then she looked at herself in the mirror and she was like, who is this person? So she was in her higher awareness, just looking at all this and going, I'm not any of this. I'm not attached to any of this. Having had that experience once, powerfully, for I don't know how long it lasted, a few minutes, maybe a bit longer, completely changed her life, because she realized there was something more than the drama and of the ego that you know, it specialized in for so long. She realized that awareness was there and was accessible. Yeah. So back to the point, you know, he's saying don't value any dreams. Value only the truth. Because each dream that you value is a symbol of the dream world, a symbol of the ego, it's a symbol of the dream world, and that dream will keep you attached to it. If it succeeds, I think I like the dream, but if it should fail, I think the dream is sad. Yeah, so you watch this. I don't know if you do sort of by default watch football or the Rugby World Cup's on now. We'll see this. If it succeeds, I think I like the dream. Oh wow, amazing! We're doing well at the World Cup, or we won it, and it's a great dream. And then if you fail, which will happen to every team except one, then I think the dream is sad, and then everyone's sad because we've lost. But whether it succeeds or fails is not its core, but just the flimsy covering, right? So it doesn't really matter whether it succeeds or fails. All it's designed to do is perpetuate the seeming reality of my separate self and the dream it's made. That's what it's designed to do. So whether I win or whether I lose, we're talking about, some kind of competitive sport, doesn't really matter. What matters to the ego is that I value the game, that I'm attached to the game, and I make it real, and I value it, and I attach my self-concept to it. That's what it wants. Okay. So any other thoughts on number 4?
Yeah, no, that's very clear. I will have to go in about sort of 5 minutes because the dogs are desperate. I've got quite a few chores to do. So
okay. So let's finish it. We've got 2 paragraphs.
Yeah, because it's right. How happy would my dreams become if I were not the one who gave the proper role to every figure which the dream contains? No one can fail but my idea of him, and there is no betrayal but of this. The core of dreams, the remembrance of perfect love, gives is never one of fear. The coverings may not appear to change, but what they mean has changed because they cover themselves as something else. Perceptions are determined by their purpose, in that they seem to be what they are for. The shadow figure who attacks becomes a companion, giving me a chance to help. If this becomes the function of the dream, and dreams of sadness, they thus are turned to joy.
Okay, so what's he saying here?
Well, it's about the happy dream. So, no one can fail to accept the idea of him, and there is no betrayal except of this. So really the core of the dreams is the remembrance of perfect love. It's never one of fear. The coverings may not appear to change. Something else.
I'll change that to expectation, actually. So
yeah.
No one can fail except my expectation. Everyone only fails my expectation. About anyone can only fail my expectation of them. And there is no betrayal except of this, right? So I've only been betrayed because I had an expectation of something else happening. If I had no expectation, it wouldn't matter, would it? What they say or they do. It's my expectation. My expectation that's the problem, which is what he's highlighting. As this is second noble truth of Buddhism. The Buddha noticed this and said, well, expectation or craving, as he called it, is the source of all suffering. He's just saying the same thing here. Just framing it as, the core of dreams as a suffering. And there's no betrayal except of this. Okay? So, happy with that one?
Yeah.
Okay, number 6.
What is my companion for? I do not know, because my function is obscure to me. Do not ascribe a role to him that I imagine would bring happiness to me. And do not try to hurt him when he fails to take part that I assigned him to in what I dream my life was meant to be. He asks for help for every dream he has, and I have helped to give him if I see the function of the dream as it perceives its function. Who can utilize all dreams as means to serve the function given it, because it loves the dreamer, not the dream, and each dream becomes an offering of love. For at its center is its love for me, which lights whatever form it takes with love.
Okay.
Well, we're questioning what our companions are really for, because when we ascribe a role from our separate self, we imagine that happiness will come to us, but of course it doesn't.
The restatement here really of the second noble truth of Buddhism, which is saying, all suffering is caused by craving or expectation. So people only fail us when we have an expectation of them, of some other outcome, some other behavior on their part. Then they seemingly fail us. But it was all our own expectation that failed us. Okay, so personalized executive summary. If you want to read that quickly, just go through it and then call it quits, shall we?
Yeah. In exploring my own understanding of dreams and truth, I wrestle with the belief that truth can be mingled with illusions. All dreams, whether seemingly pleasant or filled with fear, are inherently untrue and fraught from the fabric of fear itself. The correction doesn't select which dreams to touch. Instead, it acts as a means of awakening from them, offering an escape not from the dream, but into a state of awakened awareness. The dreams that I think I enjoy may still tether me to a state of unawakened existence, just as much as those that openly display fear, since they all harbor fear at their core, either overtly or shrouded in deception forms of pleasure and joy. My anger emerges when someone fails to fulfill a function I've assigned to them within my dreams. But whether these dreams appear sad or joyful, on the surface, their core remains the same, a pervasive, undulating fear. Moreover, the happiness of my dreams is compromised by my own dictation of what each figure in them must represent and accomplish. Every figure in the dream becomes a reflection of my own assigned roles and expectations, their failures and betrayals, but only of my own making.
Profound stuff. So these are just acting out for you. Your own failures, their failures and betrayals, but only of mine. Every figure in the dream becomes a reflection of my figure in my dream becomes a reflection of my own assigned roles and expectations.
Moreover, the happiness of my dreams is compromised by my own dictation of what each figure in them must represent and accomplish. Every figure in my dream becomes a reflection of my own assigned roles and expectations, and their failures and betrayals are only of my own making. The remembrance of perfect love offers dreams that, while they may not always change in their apparent form, shift in meaning because they cloak something new beneath. Shadowy figures of attack transmute into companions offering assistance, transforming dreams of sadness into ones of joy. As the underlying love from the remembrance of perfect love illuminates them, when I understand my companion's role from a perspective not married by my own projections, every dream becomes an offering of love, ablaze with love at its core, redefining every form it assumes.
Yeah.
Right.
That's marred, by the way, not marred by my own projections.
Oh.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, there's a key message. Right.
Key message, yeah. So, what's he saying? It's just I think did I just do this? I was busy doing it. Just
I think you did, yes. Yeah, right. I'm going to have to go now because I'm like, yeah, I've got loads of little bits and pieces to do. So I'll drop off now. Okay. What time?
You don't want to read the message.
No, I've just got a lot of things I'd like to do. I've got chores I need to do and the dogs are sitting waiting. So I'm sorry, I'm going to have to dash now. So what time tomorrow? Are you just going to put it on the message? You do an afternoon.
I'm going to do a house sit, so could we do an afternoon one?
Yeah. But it's probably because I've got work tomorrow, so it's going to be approximately 1 o'clock.
Yeah, okay.
If that's okay. Yeah.
Fine,
No, that's good for me.
Starting at 1, go to 1 till 4 or something.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So
Yeah.
done for the day. And go to the house. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
see you tomorrow.
Right. Good night. Right. Okay. Bye.
Okay. Night, Elaine. All right. So that's a wrap for today. So good session. Thank you to Elaine for joining. Hope you enjoyed that. If you watched on the live stream, join us on one of these live sessions soon. There's a link below. If you're watching on this video on YouTube, then there's a link below trying to allow you to join us this Sunday in our masterclass. And you can also subscribe to our Telegram group and get some of the material that I showed up front in the session. And finally, subscribe to the channel if you like this. So thanks for watching, and hopefully catch you on the inside soon. Namaste. This means the peace in me acknowledges and honors that same peaceful self in you.